G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/legal advice episode. Now if you love me as much as I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good legal advice. Now our first post is by user PleaseAdvice28912, titled, On Terrier. People are living in our just-built townhome, claiming they are renting, but will leave only for $15,000. Police are not being helpful. What am I supposed to do here? So, me and my wife bought a new townhome. It was finally completed last Friday. We did a walkthrough and were given keys to the finished unit on Monday, and everything was fine. Today was our move-in day. We showed up before the movers, only to discover around 2 women sitting on blankets in our living room. They got extremely defensive and claimed they paid to rent it, and I called the police. I walked around the back and the patio door looks like it was shattered. The police came and I provided them with all the paperwork showing that we are the owners. However, we came back with a residential tenancy form that was apparently they both signed. Half of it seemed to be blank. The landlord's name is someone who I have no idea who they are. On top of that, the kicker is that apparently their monthly rent is only $250 a month. After about 2 hours of back and forth of this, the police officer gave us a report number and recommended we seek legal aid. However, he cannot remove them from the premises until he is able to talk to the landlord, who apparently no one can get a hold of. After he left, one of the women came up to my wife and basically told her they would leave for $15,000, no questions asked. I offered them $500 and she laughed at me. From when we were in there, the entire house already stinks of cigarettes, and I am pulling my hair out because of this. I am trying desperately to get in touch with our lawyer. We talked briefly to building company, and they told us as soon as they gave us the keys, it is not their problem. To clarify, I am in Ontario, Canada. Why is it that always the worst situations are happening in Ontario, Canada? Can someone please elaborate on that? Anyway, I'm trying desperately to get in touch with our lawyer. This is what you need to do. They are scammers and have no right to be there, but that can't be established by the police. It has to be established in court, and the sheriff will have to remove them via a court order if they refuse to leave. Edit, don't try to constructively evict them or they can sue you. Go by the book. Sorry this is happening. We have literally nowhere to go right now. These people don't even have keys to our house, so how can they even say they're renting it? Because they are lying. The problem is that the police don't know who is lying or telling the truth. They are not a judge in a court. The fact that they are lying and scamming has to be established in court. You need to get an attorney involved with this quickly. First thing in the morning. You could try a Hail Mary and go down to the police station tonight and see if you can talk to someone higher up. Sorry this is happening, it has to feel like a nightmare. Thanks, I will see if I can get in touch with our lawyer first thing tomorrow, or I will find a new lawyer to deal with this. Thank you for your help. I'm not sure what confusion there is on who is telling the truth when one party had keys and the other party has no keys and got access to the property by breaking and entering. It is completely unreasonable, to me, to assume they could be on the up and up and their landlord rented a place to them. Didn't provide keys and told them just to smash their way in, you know? Seems a bit weird, that one. Wait, there is evidence of forced entry and the police didn't want to do anything about it? Not illegal to break into your own home, which the squatters claim is going on. You're saying I can break into any home in Ontario as long as I claim it's my home? That's basically what happens. These threads pop up on here pretty frequently. People will go on vacation only to come back with someone in their house with a fake lease. This is only going to be addressed by the government if someone is successful in doing it to a politician, lawmaker, judge, etc. I guarantee you that if OP did it to that exact cop while they were at work, OP would be in jail that night. So what's stopping the actual homeowners from literally walking in there without involving the cops and forcefully throwing these people out? Assault is illegal. Call the police again, if needed to get someone higher up the chain. You are the owner. Only you can be the landlord of this property, and obviously you do not want them. They are either committing fraud themselves or are being conned by a third person. It cannot be that if a burglar or trespasser waves around with a printed piece of paper saying they rent it from X, that they can commit a crime. Seriously, OP, get your ownership papers and call your sales agent to confirm with police. The fact that the cops are not touching this is confusing, sounds like low IQ police. If this is the way things work, I could just hop house to house with fake leases, then leave before the consequences. WTF, mate. And now guys, update Ontario. People are living in our just built townhome, claiming they're renting but will leave only for $15,000. Police are not being helpful, what am I supposed to do here? Today they were forcefully removed from the property by the police. Our lawyer was somehow able to get a judge to look at everything and approve having them removed. The police officer basically told us to not move in and have the entire house professionally cleaned, as there is a bunch of needles and other things laying around. On top of all of that, it seems they tried to seemingly destroy everything in our house. All the new applications that came with our house are basically ruined. Old toilets and bathtubs seemingly look like they've been smashed with a hammer. In some places, it looks like someone tried to rip the fudging wiring out of our walls, etc. Basically, our house, I guess, basically as a final screw you to us. Our lawyer has basically told us the odds of us getting anything of value basically out of them is basically nil. I wanted them to go to jail for breaking and entering, but apparently that doesn't work like that, basically. I hate humanity. Alright, and our next post is by JFC Help. Spent the night in a holding cell because having a uniform, keys to the building and the alarm code is not enough proof I work there and not breaking in. Once again, Ontario, Canada. So I work at a local computer repair shop. We are closed Sundays, but my boss allows me to come in on Sundays because it fits better with my school schedule. As I was leaving yesterday, out the back door, 2 cops pulled up and arrested me for breaking and entering. I tried to explain to them that I work there, and I would prove it by unlocking the door and turning off the alarm. They said that wasn't proof and arrested me anyways. I didn't put up a fight because I'm not stupid. They let me try to call my boss, but he was out of town ice fishing for the weekend and didn't have a cell signal, so he didn't get the message until this morning. They still didn't let me go until about an hour ago when my boss physically came to the police station and told them that I do work for him. Apparently someone down the street had called in about me because we're not open Sundays, so no employees should be there. Is there a complaint or something I can file about this? They didn't even check if I was breaking and entering. They just straight up pulled up and arrested me. Comments are locked, so anyone late to the party, I'm going to talk to the legal center at my school about it. You can file a formal complaint about the police's handling of the incident with the OIPRD. ETA, OP, consulting a lawyer isn't bad advice, but it's important to remember what legal standards apply. The police are given a wide berth to make mistakes, provided that their conduct was objectionably reasonable based on the facts as known at the time. The totality of the circumstances as you've presented them in the original post and comments could cause the average person to reach the same conclusion that the police did. While I don't necessarily agree with how the incident was handled, it is extraordinarily unlikely you would be able to file suit successfully. Unfortunately, not every bad arrest qualifies as an unlawful arrest. Check with r/LegalAdvice Canada. Your only avenue of recourse is likely to be lodging a formal complaint with the police. Right, people saying that you should sue for false arrest are mistaken, at least based on what information was provided here. The officers may have been overzealous here, but they weren't without authority, and they weren't superseding the scope of their powers. They received a call of a suspicious person in a store at night when it was supposed to be closed. That's reason enough to investigate. Even if OP had a uniform, keys, and a code, it doesn't mean they were supposed to be there. For all the cops know, this is an employee who broke in at night to steal from their employer. If OP is upset at how this was handled, a complaint is definitely the right way to go. If there are more circumstances, OP should consult a lawyer, but also know that such a suit would be an uphill battle. Just to clarify, it was daylight when I was leaving, but it did look kind of sketchy because I had backed my car up to the back door to carry something heavy inside, and it was actually the first Sunday that I worked. And now guys, update to arrested while leaving work on Terrier. So quick update. I talked to the legal clinic at school and they said because I have no real damages, it is not worth it to do anything. I did go to the police station and talk to someone higher up. Can't remember exact title. They said the guys are suspended without pay. He didn't say for how long and I didn't think to ask. I let them know that I would be working Sundays until April, and they said if they got a call, they'd have to come check it out, but it wouldn't happen again, and that my record is clean. I worked Sunday and a cop showed up and said that they got a call again. She said that the neighbor had been calling about weird stuff all week. She didn't elaborate, and they were going to do a wellness check, and they may not be mentally sound enough to live alone anymore. She said to give them a call if we had any trouble with the neighbor while they look into it. To everyone asking if I'm a minority, I am trans, but they didn't seem to know that when I was being arrested. I've been on hormones for 5 years, I pretty well pass now. I highly doubt it had anything to do with it. Alright, and now on to our next post. My ex deleted my BA thesis and underlying research off my computer. Due date is in 10 days. Do I have any recourse at all? So my life is pretty much ruined. I'm supposed to graduate in May and my BA degree requires a year-long thesis made from original research. I have spent all year conducting interviews and gathering qualitative data that it is impossible to reproduce. My thesis was almost complete, except for one section. I kept my paper and materials on my computer, but I would periodically back everything up by emailing the documents to myself. My house had a party yesterday, and my computer was used to play music. I never have a problem letting other people pull up their playlists or whatever. My ex showed up because her friends are friends with one of my roommates, and our breakup has been friendly. I saw them at one point using my computer to play music, but I had no reason not to trust them, because this has all happened before without a problem. I noticed this morning that all of my emails are deleted. That made me panic for a lot of reasons, but the first thing I did was check for my thesis, and it was deleted too, along with my interview notes and transcriptions. I'm completely screwed. Do I have any legal basis with my school to get an extension, or a waiver, or anything, so that I can graduate on time? Can I do anything about my ex? Will the police care? I'm in Illinois. Don't touch your computer. Turn it off and bring it to a local computer shop. It is very likely that the information is still in your computer, and a tech will most likely be able to recover it. When you delete something on a computer, it doesn't delete the information, it just marks that spot as a usable spot to save further information. If you haven't saved anything since, that information is probably still there. This is the most pressing matter. Once you have taken your computer to the shop, then you can address the legal issues. If you can provide evidence that your ex did this, then you can sue him for whatever damages were incurred. You are free to contact the police non-emergency line, and they will determine if any laws were broken and if they are significant enough to follow through on. Whether or not they do will be up to the police officers. I did not know that. Thank you, I will look into this. There are free tools that will recover your files pretty easily. Maybe ask a computer-savvy person for help. Word processing applications also keep backups sometimes. Your emails can also be recovered. Deleted things don't actually get deleted that easily. Reach out to the support team for your email. Let them know what happened and they might be able to recover the emails. As another user said, take your computer to a local shop and they may be able to recover the local files. For future reference, follow the 3-2-1 rule. Keep at least 3 backups of your data, at least 2 mediums, USB drive, cloud storage, local backup, and have at least 1 backup off-site, a flash drive at a friend's house or in a safety deposit box. And another comment asks, you have no backup of this thing you have invested a year into? Were these emails stored locally on the cloud, webmail? The email was my backup. I'd sent a weekly draft to myself on my Gmail account. My advisor probably has an outline that I had to turn in, and a very rough draft of a few parts that I had to turn in around December. But it's changed significantly from then, and I've lost all the interview notes that I used to build the paper. Right now you have a technical issue. Worry about the legal issue later. It's probably not gone if you act quickly. Have you checked the Gmail trash? Have you contacted Gmail? I have checked the trash on my computer and email. Nothing. And now onto our update for that post. Update, I need more help. My ex deleted my BA thesis and it's due in 7 days. I need additional help. Based on the advice from my last thread, I took my laptop to the Geek Squad to recover the files. They said I'd have it back by the end of the week. That would leave me with enough time to finish the last section of my thesis paper. I got a call yesterday that it would actually take 2 weeks because they had to ship my laptop out for data recovery. Tried to explain that was unacceptable, but nothing could be done about it. I'm not looking for technical advice, I need legal advice that I can use for my college and ex. My advisor said he can't give me an extension, which means I won't graduate next month, and very likely could just fail out. Is there any legal basis for forcing my school to give me an extension? My paper and all of my qualitative data was deleted, plus my backups were deleted. This whole situation is beyond my control. Is there any action I can take against my ex? For the bot, I'm in Illinois. Edit, this is my original post. Basically, my roommates and I had a party on Sunday, my ex showed up, which is not unusual because we're on good terms. And her friends are friends with my roommates. My computer was available for people to play their own playlists, again nothing unusual. I woke up on Monday and discovered all my emails were deleted, which is where I made weekly backups of my thesis. When I checked my hard drive, the folder with my thesis was deleted too. I freaked out, asked Reddit for advice, and took my computer to the Geek Squad. Texted my ex later on Monday asking if she deleted my thesis, and didn't hear back. Her friend called me in tears, saying my ex deleted everything, and feels incredibly sorry and guilty. She did it because she saw me flirting with someone at the party and got jealous. I have a fellowship lined up after graduation that I'm not eligible for if I don't actually graduate. I need an extension until I get my files back. I'm completely screwed if I can't turn in my thesis. So, I am not a lawyer, but I have a grad degree, and I have worked in university administration for most of my career. I don't have any legal advice for you, but I do have some advice on universities. Not every university is the same, and the procedures/job titles might be slightly different for your institution. All this information should be available to you, maybe in a student handbook or on the website. I've found, however, that many undergrad students either don't look for it or don't even know that it exists. I've included some instructions below that are pretty much generally true for every institution I've worked for/attended. Your thesis advisor isn't the last stop when requesting an extension. They are the first stop. I don't know what your relationship with your thesis advisor is, so you will have to make this judgment call. But if they are generally reasonable and you have a good relationship, you might want to give them a verbal heads up before you start escalating. People don't like to be caught off guard on these things, and it can help preserve goodwill if you do let them know. But don't do this if you think they may retaliate or cause issues. If you haven't already done so, you could immediately contact your faculty/college's academic advisors. They are usually administrators, not professors. You should be able to find their office hours and contact information on your university's website, but they're usually pretty busy this time of year, so you might want to call/email them and see if you can book an appointment. Some individual departments are big enough to have their own academic advisors, but if you are an undergrad, you will most likely be using the general office for a larger faculty, such as arts and science. You should ask them what the university's procedures are for cases like this. There's usually a faculty-wide process by which you can apply for an extension under extenuating circumstances. If granted, this probably means that your deadline will be extended to the next term, which may or may not delay your graduation date slightly. It's important that you do so before missing your deadline, as this usually makes the process easier. It's not that uncommon a request. When you go, you should bring a copy of the information the Geek Squad sent you regarding the timeline of getting your data back, and the communication that you had with your thesis advisor, and any evidence you may have against your ex. Note, if you didn't have this discussion with your thesis advisor by email, make sure to do so. This means you have the date and content in writing, and the university will want to see that you have followed the proper escalation procedure, which means talking to your instructor first, and only going beyond them if you can't resolve the issue. When you are asking them about your options, make sure to get specific information about what evidence you will need, exactly what forms need to be filled in, who you should contact next, and explicit deadlines. Make sure that there is a record of your meeting that is dated in order to show that you tried to work this out before your deadline even hit. Hopefully your faculty/college's academic advisor will be able to help you, or at least help you start the process. If not, you will want to ask them to escalate the issue to the faculty person who is in charge of student matters. In all, of the universities I've worked for, this person is usually called the Associate Dean of Students for the Faculty of X. I would suggest also trying to find out if there is anyone else you should CC on this email. If the faculty is big and wealthy enough that the associate deans have an assistant, definitely CC that person on the email too. Faculty are busy and that person's job is to make sure issues and queries get followed up on. You can also reach out to your student government for help and direction. The involvement and effectiveness of student governments varies wildly between universities, so this may or may not be effective. I would also suggest doing this only if the steps above fail, or if you need guidance in finding the right people/processes. If you aren't able to get anywhere and you do miss the deadline, there are procedures for students to petition the university and challenge grades/decisions. This is a longer process and it is best to deal with it before it gets to this point. However, if you do have to do this, you will want a record of all the steps leading up to this point. That includes email records and dates, showing what you have already done to resolve this. So emails to the people above, info on your ex, info from Geek Squad, etc. You can start this process with the Academic Advisor's office. Thank you so much. I didn't realize people higher up would bother listening to me. I'll start escalating things today. And that's what they're gonna do. Thesis 2019 started the escalation process, and they haven't updated us further. So we can all assume that they didn't want to post this on Reddit, and that's a whole bunch of information. That is a very good amount of advice, and thank you for the person that posted this on LegalAdvice and helped out Thesis 2019. Epic. Alright, and our next post is by user Ezio009, titled "Roommate Flushed an Expensive Family Heirloom Down the Toilet." So, I'm a sophomore in college and have been living with a randomly paired roommate who I believe has some form of special needs. If the room is messy, he gets into some serious anger fits where he will scream and yell at me about not cleaning up, and then proceed to throw all my stuff around the room. This lasts around 20 minutes, and he always apologizes profusely and cleans everything up and says it won't happen again. Just yesterday, he had another crazy anger fit and took my watch off my desk and flushed it down the toilet, and proceeded to scream hysterically. The watch was quite an expensive Rolex passed down from my father from his father, so it has a lot of significance within the family. I've tried calling the school and sewage system, but I've had no luck yet in retrieving it. I have moved rooms and spoken to the RA, but they have not really offered any significant advice. I have not spoken to my roommate yet, as I am both too angry and scared to approach him. I have not spoken to my father yet, as I know it will completely devastate him. I honestly have no idea how to approach this, and any help would be appreciated. What's the best course of action here? Talk to your father. You will need information about the watch and proof the watch existed and was in your possession. If there is any form of insurance, you, the school, or roommate has to go through them, or even consider hiring a lawyer to mediate the process depending on how much the watch costs, fair market, and any additional damage from it being an heirloom. If there is no insurance, you would have to go after roommate. Gather any evidence that the roommate did flush the watch, reports to RA or the such. Depending on your state, call with a recorder and have him admit to flushing your heirloom Rolex. If it isn't a one-party consent state, try and get an admission through text or email from his main account/number. This is another issue I have. I really don't have much evidence apart from my word and previous RA reports of his violent outbursts. I will definitely try and talk to my roommate and see if I can record him confessing. You don't have a picture of your family wearing the Rolex? Yes, I have many. I have a Rolex and I had it appraised for insurance purposes. We did the same thing with my wife's wedding rings. I have been told this is the only way to accurately file an insurance claim, and you will need to add it to your policy after the appraisal. A jeweler can do it for you. That being said, I hope this works out for you in the end, either somehow recovering the watch or its value. Good luck. And someone else says, you can sue your roommate for its value. Your parents' homeowner's insurance should cover it. Ask them for their insurance agent's contact information. You won't get the watch back, but you might get enough money to purchase a similar vintage Rolex. This assumes your parents have adequate itemized coverage for jewelry. You may need to file a police report. This may make your dorm mates angry at you, but if your roommate is responsible enough to be in college, he's responsible enough to be liable for his actions. Anyway, ask your parents and their insurance agent. There's usually a limit on the coverage for jewelry, often capped at $1,500. If there's no rider or personal articles policy, the full value of the watch isn't likely to be covered under a homeowner's policy. The insurance company is going to want to see a police report though, because they've got a clear person trying to subrogate against, and need to get their information in order. What are the laws in suing a roommate with mental challenges, if my hunch is right? He can still be held liable for your damages. Not your problem, let him raise that as a defense if he wants to. Talk to your dad and see if there was any insurance on it / covered by home contents insurance. If so, see if the insurance will pay out and tell them who did it. They will have the option to chase him for reimbursement and you won't have to. If no insurance, then you'll have to get him to reimburse. Talk to your dad first, there may be other hoops to jump through, getting more evidence that he did it / sending a demand letter, etc., before you can file with the courts. Mental illness does not absolve one of their actions. And in the post, there are 4 edits. Edit, thanks for all the support and advice here. I really appreciate everyone who's commented and liked this to help me get the best advice possible. A report has been filed with the police, and I've been moved to a different room. Still waiting for a response from my roommate. Watch has not been found yet, but maintenance said it's tough to do this on a Sunday for some reason. Edit 2, thank you for all your kind responses and all the advice. Was not expecting it to blow up like this. By some miracle, emergency maintenance found it earlier today in the trap, along with some other items of mine that he must have thrown down there, which they say clogged the toilet. Unfortunately, the watch doesn't seem to be working, but it should be an easy repair. That being said, I had another altercation with my roommates where he tried breaking into my room. Called the college police and it looks like they may have detained him or taken him away somewhere. It's been a hectic day, but it looks like the situation is being handled. Thank you to everyone. Edit 3, wow, my first silver. Thank you, kind friend, much appreciated. Thanks for all the support and sorry if I haven't responded to everyone's comments and messages. It's been a really hectic day. Means a lot to have such a caring community I can turn to when crap happens. I appreciate you all. And edit 4, 2 golds? Thank you, kind strangers. Damn, thanks for the continued support, everyone. Didn't expect it to blow up so much. Getting it serviced today from a trusty jeweler, and looking into a restraining order. Crazy times right now. Ho-ho, it really do be like that, don't it? But in all seriousness, I'm glad that this resolved itself like this. That is insane to have to go through that, and I cannot imagine the unfathomable stress he went through being like, oh, and now my Rolex is gone for life. That's just great. Anyway guys, on to our next post. Titled by My Ex is an Jerk. Emmy/California. My teenage daughter was sexually assaulted while visiting her father for the summer. Hi everyone, thank you in advance for any help you can provide. My ex and I divorced 10 years ago. We have a 14-year-old daughter and joint custody, though she spends the school year in SoCal with me, and the summer in Maine with her father. Our divorce was not amicable, but I do everything in my power to keep it from affecting our daughter, and have not told her about my reasons for wanting a divorce, out of an interest of not poisoning her relationship with her father. She arrived home this morning, and she looked pale, and was shaking and in tears. After asking her what's wrong, she handed me a letter from my ex's mother. Apparently, my daughter was acting like a tramp and dressing inappropriately in front of her cousins, and her 19-year-old cousin sexually assaulted her. The letter was telling me how I'm supposed to change how I'm raising my daughter to prevent promiscuity. She's always been a crazy Bible-thumping weirdo, so I ignored it. I took my daughter home and immediately called my ex, asking him to send me the forms so that I can have copies of her medical records from being sent to the hospital, sent to her doctor, and ask for the name and number of whichever police officer is handling her case. He informed me that he decided not to press charges because our daughter was being a tramp and needs to know she's not going to be rewarded with attention for that kind of behavior. I'm livid. It's been 4 weeks since the event happened, and they didn't permit her to call me that whole time. I wish I had given her the cell phone that I had waiting at home before she left, but I had intended it as a "you're starting high school" gift, and I thought it would be best to wait. I want to press charges and see the aggressor punished to the fullest extent of the law. I would also like to see about amending our custody agreements so that she doesn't ever have to go see that screwed up side of her family again. I'm so angry right now I cannot think straight. And she's taking a nap. What do I need to do? Who do I need to call? The police should point you to supportive services for your daughter to help her through this. Local crisis center, etc. Be sure to ask if they don't. Also, scan in/photograph of that letter, backups also. The police will want the original, you want a copy, and I'm sure your lawyer will want one for the custody hearing. Also, your daughter is 14, so hopefully the court will take her wishes into account. I expect she never wants to go back to Maine. She definitely does not want to go back. She's supposed to fly over back for Christmas, and she was begging me on the way home to do something to make sure she never had to go back again. I promised her that I would do everything in my power. I hope it's the case that she can just say she doesn't want to go and she won't have to. She's never expressed a desire to not go before. Her father's family, which is much wealthier than mine, so they do a lot more fun things with her than I can afford to. So it's never come up. I'm thinking she should talk with the attorney alone also, or her own separate attorney. Don't know exactly how that would work, just know when I was 14, I knew I absolutely had the power to refuse. Trouble is, I didn't always know the best way to use that power. One parent making me get on the plane to LAX, another waiting at Maine. I might be walking out of the airport in Chicago on the layover. Anyway, at 14 I could have used a therapist and a lawyer for some confidential empowerment, and nothing in my life came close to your story. She'll find a way out, she needs to know the safe choices. Absolutely call the police. I would also talk to a lawyer and look at getting custody taken away ASAP. I called them after I got off the phone with my ex, and they said they'd send someone over this evening to speak to my daughter. Since the assault happened almost a month ago, they said not to worry about taking her to the hospital for an assessment kit. I just wasn't sure if I should call the police in Maine as well. As far as my attorney, I left a voicemail, but he's on vacation this week and should be back on Monday. OP, also save that letter, it will be important for both cases. I will, thank you for reminding me. My desire to tear it up and scream in frustration has been growing over the past hour or two. Take a well-lit picture of it too. That way it's saved into cloud storage and is safe from a fire or sabotage. I'm so sorry. Other people have given you some awesome advice. All I have to say is, I would try and see if there was a way you could file charges against the grandmother and her father. Accessories after the fact, tampering with evidence, something. They knew if it happened and thought it was okay because she was being a tramp and deserved it. Who in their right mind thinks this is okay? It makes you wonder how many other girls this cousin has taken advantage of and they covered it up, especially family members. I'm also not one for suing, but after the trial I highly recommend suing not only the cousin, but the father and grandmother for emotional distress for everything they have. If they are as wealthy as you say, I would go after every dime. People like this disgust me. They think because they have money and religion, they are above everything. Your daughter deserves it. Alright, and now onto our first update. My teenage daughter was sexually assaulted while visiting her father for the summer. Well, it's been a busy day and it's barely 8:30. Christ. Yesterday afternoon, after I made my post, which admittedly helped calm my rage just posting it, I called her gynecologist. I have uterine issues, so I got her a gyno to get checked for them once she started her period. She was very understanding and offered to stay late if I wanted to bring my daughter in that evening. So I called the police, let them know that I was taking her to appointments at the gyno that evening as well, so we could coordinate. My daughter was a bit hesitant to go see the doctor, but understood when I explained to her that we needed to make sure that she wasn't pregnant and didn't have any damage that went uncared for because her father refused to get her medical attention. The doctor said she's physically fine, pending the results of the STI tests, and she asked to be put on birth control for peace of mind. Though I know this is traumatic for her and her father's family is a bunch of goddamn nutjobs, I'm glad they didn't get into her head enough that she would be afraid of asking for that kind of protection. After the doctor's appointment, we went home and ordered pizza, and a detective arrived around 8 PM. He sat down with my daughter in our living room, while I hung out in my office, after making sure she was okay being alone with him. Didn't want her to not tell him something for fear that I would hear it. The detective told me before he left that this is a serious matter, and he would be contacting me with information about anyone in Maine that I needed to speak to. I made a few copies of the letter and scanned it in, then gave him the original and emailed him a digital copy. He left with a big folder with a bunch of victim advocacy groups' information in it. He also told me to get a restraining order for her against her father's family. After he left, we sat down and set up her new cell phone, and she went on Facebook and blocked her father's family, as they had started posting victim-blamey bullcrap to her wall. Within an hour, my phone was ringing, with my ex demanding that I make our daughter unblock him, since apparently he's decided he has a right to be on her Facebook. I told him to only contact me through my attorney, and hung up. This morning, I got a call back from my attorney, even though he's on vacation. His assistant heard my message and contacted him about it, since it seemed more pressing than most other matters, and he called me to reassure me that he will handle it, and since we divorced in California, the custody agreement is in California, and it will be amended in California, since California is her state of residency, and in California, they take a real dim view of this kind of bullcrap in California. He also told me at 14, no judge he knows of would tell her that she had to go visit her father, much less in this situation. I have an appointment for her with a trauma counselor the detective recommended this afternoon, and took the day off work so that I could help her as needed. Right now she's mostly been playing World of Warcraft and eating junk food, but I feel like at least right now, I'm not going to tell her when she needs to go to bed or police her health choices. I want to thank you all for your excellent advice and support. I will do my best to keep you updated as the situation unfolds, but my conversation with the detective and my attorney leads me to believe that while the custody amendment will not take too long, the criminal proceedings may take longer, as they are complicated by the fact the victim lives in one state and the crime occurred in a different state. And now, update 2, my teenage daughter was sexually assaulted while visiting her father for the summer. Thought I'd post a quick update. My attorney spoke with my ex-husband's attorney, and I don't know what words were exchanged, but my ex agreed to the amended custody agreement, so she no longer has to see him. He made a big stink about how he's not paying child support anymore, but I'm not very worried about it. I make enough that it's not really a concern, and I've lurked this sub enough to know that just because he doesn't have visitation does not mean he gets out of paying child support. I'm a vindictive bitch, so if he's late on a single payment, I plan to pursue it as far as I can. As far as the crapcock that assaulted my daughter, I know very little other than it's an ongoing investigation, but that they will contact me when the more information is available. I'm pretty sure he's been arrested, as I received a lovely email from my ex-mother-in-law rambling about how I'm destroying her grandson's life, blah blah blah. I really don't care. I've blocked her and my daughter has all of them blocked. So as far as I'm concerned, they can die in a fire at the bottom of a well. My daughter is doing well. She has joined a LARP group, live action roleplay. Sorry, I don't know what it is. They play something like Dungeons and Dragons, but in costumes with fake weapons. And seems to be bouncing back well. Not having to deal with her father or his family anymore seems to have lifted a weight off of her shoulders. She is seeing a therapist regularly, though as I know from my own bouts of depression, that just because you seem fine doesn't mean that you are. I wanted to extend my thanks to everyone in this sub for how supportive and kind you've been through what is a very difficult time for my family. It was very helpful to have people able to calmly and clearly explain what my options were, and what to expect when I was too angry to think straight. Oh my god, my voice hurts after all of this, but Jesus, that was a very, very good outcome, and I'm so glad that she's doing well. I hope that everyone enjoyed these stories today, and I hope that you can reach out some prayers during this time for the OP in that situation. This was 2 years ago, so it was quite a long time since this all happened, but you know, it's still relevant. People still get abused this day and age, and my heart goes out to people that have faced these situations. I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought about this down in the comments. I hope you have a good day, night sleep, whatever you're up to. I love you today, tomorrow, and next week, and until I die. Now I want you guys to go to sleep and forget today and dream about tomorrow. I love you all, and I hope that you're keeping safe. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.